Just let me
I'm
say
gonna
that
be.
the commitment to this band is now even more outstanding as our singer is in a different country and
Oh yes.
committed to doing an interview. That
Here's
sounds,
here's let
Where
me
are
show you
you,
the view
Chris?
from my room here.
yeah, rub
Um,
it in.
here's paradise in the background. I don't know if you can
Oh,
see that.
ooh,
I'm on the island of Cozumel in Mexico scuba diving. It was our last day, so we fly out tomorrow morning, just in
oh,
time to
that's
hit
awesome.
LA for all the protests.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, oh man. Brian, where are you at, man?
I'm in LA. I'm in
Okay,
LA. Hunkered
nice.
down, laying low.
You're in the thick of it right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
And the
man.
thick of it is about a 2 mile stretch of downtown. It's really been overblown, completely overblown. Not
Really?
what Trump has done, but what initially started were peaceful protests in a very small area of downtown.
Hmm.
The city
Oh,
is not burning. It is not full of embers. It is not rioting and looting. It's not the apocalypse. Far from it.
jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez. God. Yeah. Man. Leave it to certain people to over exaggerate to get what they to get their narrative over, huh? Man.
Yeah, yeah, they did the same thing with the fires in January. They look
Hmm.
for, the haters look for any excuse to be like, well, all of LA's burning and they deserve it. They're all sinners. And my friends would call me like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I mean, they were bad. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They were bad.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
just is, people take any excuse, like you said, to just kind of
Mhm.
jump on the bandwagon. And that's how easily misinformation is spread.
Yeah. The press
Yeah.
secretary holding up a picture of fire. That's a lie.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's none of that was true. None of it.
Wow.
So, we actually think there's even more uh, deeper, darker reasons that they might be doing this.
Hmm.
Like that maybe they want to be sending more troops in just to uh, like start something. Like as soon as there's any kind of violence, that's why everybody's saying if anything happens, because I guess there's going to be a big protest tomorrow, but if
Yeah.
anything happens, sit down. Do
Hmm.
not do anything because they're sending in Proud Boys, they're sending in other people to go and start things.
It sounds awfully familiar to
Yep.
something maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Yes.
throw that out
Yeah.
in a with a
Anyway.
very similar administration that we may have had 5 years ago. Man, things are fucked, guys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
five
It's
years
not
ago,
pretty.
as a band, we found ourselves in the same place where we realized that we should get the message out simply by what we do. And
Hmm.
we didn't realize it was that big of a deal and that people were looking at it like that. But
Hmm.
when we started to hear from fans saying, we need you here, we need you in our city to play, we need visibility, we as a band collectively in one of our band meetings sat around and looked at each other and said, "Oh, holy shit, this has gone way further than we even imagined when we started this in God, what, 2013. We had no idea that people from around the country would ask us to come and play in their city just purely to be visible,
Hmm.
that LGBT people play rock music, they're going to come. We unabashedly, we set ourselves up. We did take the most heteronormative band on the face of the earth and completely turn it upside down, ass end forwards, change the lyrics, and so
Yeah.
that has a lot to do with it, and people really responded to that. And so we realize that we do sort of now have a responsibility to be out front and to be part of that
Yeah.
movement, and that we're not backing down, we're not going to go back in the closet, when you're not going to scare us. Um, and it again, like 5 years ago, we find ourselves right now on the cusp of doing some tour dates in the US, that we're in kind of shaky times politically, but
Yeah,
it
for
doesn't
sure.
change what our mission is.
You
Right.
guys are a really important band, and I'll be completely honest. I just discovered you guys within the last couple weeks, which is crazy.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, I got Ray's press release, and I'm like, I watched the video. I'm like, I respond. I'm like, I'm all in. Holy fuck, this is amazing. I'm in. He's like, let's set something up. I'm like, let's do it. But from the second I watched the video and have gone back and watched other videos, I can tell you guys are a very what you do is very important, whether it's right now in the times we're in or before things went fucking insane this year. Um, it's a really, really cool thing that you guys do. Like you said, you picked a very hetero masculine style band and you've completely flipped it around. But there's still also a lot of masculinity in the imagery that you guys do and put out at the same time. And if two words could describe GayC DC to me, it would be fun and all inclusive.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank
We,
you. Yeah, I would agree.
we didn't sit down and go through a list of bands going, okay, now who could we do? We were previously in another band that was an all gay tribute to the Go-Go's. Three of us were. And when that band ended, we all really loved playing with each other. And I think it was the last rehearsal of the Gay Gays. That's what we were called.
Oh,
Chris and myself and Carl, our rhythm guitarists, we were like, we still love doing this. What can we do? And Carl, a couple rehearsals, had always been doing some AC/DC riffs, but that particular rehearsal, he started doing, Chris, I think it was Back in Black.
Yeah.
And Carl stopped playing, looked at us, and said, Gay C/DC. And we immediately
it's
just
right
had
there.
this aha moment, but
I
we
had the
all got on our,
logo. I had the boa. It all just sort of unraveled in my mind like,
Yeah.
oh,
within 10
I
oh,
minutes,
feel like
Chris had the logo, he had the look, and we were all on
yeah,
our phones making of a, somebody's already got to have done this. This already has to
right.
exist. And it did not. But
that's insane.
we said we don't want to look like them. There's no way that we can. So let's not try to do that. Let's be like, oh, maybe they're gay brothers. And that lasted for a hot minute. And then it was like, you know what, we're gonna be us. But the thematic, the one parallel theme that runs between AC/DC and us, besides the music, was their attitude of not giving a fuck,
Hmm.
not curtailing to industry standards, not curtailing to what people think they should be. They they did their trajectory and they just had no fucks left to give. And we adopted that. Like, we people are going to come after us for not looking like them, for but we said we want to have outfit changes, we want to have a fabulous show. That's what we're going to do. And we stuck by that, just like AC/DC stuck by what they were going to do. We're doing the opposite of them in terms visually, but
Right.
we have the same attitude about it.
Because it was
Yes.
difficult because we thought, are we going to do the schoolboy uniform? Are we going to do, how are we going to do all these tricky elements to get, like, because there's a million tribute bands that do AC/DC all over
Yeah.
the world. And
Yeah.
so we're kind of now forging a new territory where I think we're calling it a refresh because we've
Hmm.
taken the music, which we had to get right. That was like, okay, rule number one, the music had better be right.
Yeah.
Because if we don't get that part right, nobody's going to take the presentation correctly. They're just going to go, yeah, you guys, So we knew we had to get that music correct. But as soon as that happened, then everything else was like, okay, we'll flip all this other stuff the other direction. And and now it's just interesting to discover that I guess now we're a political band with a small p. Just funny how one election can change things for you. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that's, and the other thing is we put everything back in to what we do on stage and like the video. All of our, we all have day jobs, so that's kind of why we're not doing this for a living. We're doing it
Right.
because we want to do it. We love
Mhm.
doing this. So I think anybody that thinks, oh, we're just doing it for the cash, no.
There's not much music. There's not much money in music anymore, everybody. There's just it's
Correct.
the reality of it. You have to do this because you love to do it. And if you don't love to do it, you're not going to be around for very long. You just won't,
Correct.
you
And
know?
Right.
we didn't start out thinking that we'd be making any money from this. We started out thinking we'll maybe play the Eagle in LA, maybe we'll play some friends' parties. We don't know. We did it for shits and giggles. We kind of didn't think it was going to last this long, but when we got first asked to play the Viper Room and then the Whiskey, we realized
Oh,
this thing has legs. This isn't
Yeah.
yeah.
something
Yeah.
that this is something we can take forward. And if we really think about it, we can develop a plan. And so we approached it like a business.
Because the
Yeah.
Gay Gays before it, like Brian was mentioning, the Go-Go's tribute band, we did, it was really pretty much all shits and giggles for that band because
Yeah.
there really wasn't anything. We'd been together for about 10 years. And the biggest thing we did was we played, Jane Weedland had an after party for the last Go-Go's show of their last tour. Um, and so we played their after party for after the Greek Theater. We went and did their after
Hmm.
party. But that was kind of what the level was. It was like, yeah, we really just piddled around. We didn't really get that far. This has gotten way farther than we thought. I mean, the fact that we're
Yeah.
touring, I mean, we've had now several tours. Well, after COVID, we were supposed to do a tour and we were supposed to leave the day. It was was it March 15th,
March.
Brian? March
Yeah.
15th of
Hmm.
2020. And we got my work called me and said, don't come back to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that stuff. And then the clubs were calling saying, you better be coming. And we're like, I don't think we're coming. And then find out the clubs had all shut down that weekend anyway.
Hmm.
And that was going to be our first tour. And then that shut everything down. So now this is going to be like what, our third John around
Third,
a little bit.
third and a
That's
half,
amazing.
Yeah.
technically.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
One thing you guys pointed out is good. I feel like now there's so many more tribute bands than there's ever been. But tribute bands are also a lot more popular right now than they've ever been. Um, but AC/DC is one of those few select bands where if you don't get it right, you're the fan base will crucify you. Like you are dead in the water. So you got the music dead on. When you listen to some of this music, like you would think this is AC/DC playing this, like you would never know for a lot of this stuff.
Thank
But
you.
also you found a way to stand out and to be different. But it's really cool because you did it just by being yourselves.
Yes.
So there's
Yeah,
it's authentic.
yeah. And we actually think Bon Scott would have loved this band because, this was kind of everything he did. I'm more of a Bon Scott fan than I am Brian Johnson. I'm
Oh, that's
older,
a
so of
tough one.
course I
That's a
know,
tough
but
one.
I was
Ooh.
already 20, I was already 19 or 20 when Back in Black came out. So
Mhm.
all of that earlier stuff was what I grew up on, was the
Yeah, you were
early
around for all of
AC/DC.
it. Yeah.
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 So Bon Scott for me was everything he did was with a big old wink, all of his lyrics. Well, look, maybe not so much on Power Age. That's a darker record, but I think most of the stuff was like, he had that big gap in his teeth, and he'd wink at the camera, and I'm like, okay, so that's let's now rethink this as if they started off as a gay band. What would they have looked like if they'd gone that direction? Instead of black shirts and jeans, no black shirts, no jeans, that sort of thing. So, um, but yeah, you're right. Thank you for that. We really appreciate that you
Absolutely.
see that.
And I think it was telling that their very first video, Bon Scott's in drag.
Yes,
Yeah, there
their
you
first
go.
video.
The very
Yes,
first one
There
they
you
ever did,
go.
he's in drag. So,
with the
Yeah,
you
it's
Pippi
know,
true.
Longstocking dreads.
yeah.
It's true. But also, if you guys really think about it, like this GayC DC is what rock and roll and heavy metal, and even just punk rock is all about. It's about being yourself and not going along with
Right.
everything that is popular. It's about individuality and standing up for what you believe in and what you think is right. And, the heavy metal and rock and roll community is one of the most loving and accepting communities in all of music. Come as you are. We don't give a fuck who you are, what you look like. Let's just have a good time for the sake of rock and roll. And that is exactly what this band is.
Well,
And
it's always been. Oh, go
you know
ahead,
what?
Chris.
Actually, sorry, Brian. Let me get this point in real fast. You know what proved that to me was I have another band called Pansy Division, and we met a lot of people on the Green Day tour, and later, like Michael Stipe, Katie Lang,
Mm-hmm.
Melissa Etheridge, Indigo Girls, and said, "Look, come out, please." And within 18 months, they came out and had no problems with their music careers.
Yeah.
Rob
Then I met
Halford.
Rob Halford. Then I met Rob
Yes.
Halford, and I was like, Rob, come on, you've got to come out. You're not in Judas Priest anymore. He was in
Mm-hmm.
a band called Two, and one of his solo projects. And we said, I bet that if you come out, nothing will happen. Nothing's going to happen. And in fact, it went the other direction. He's now back in Judas Priest and has been now for a long time, and it's gotten better for him.
Yeah.
So and his audience went, we don't care, just like you said, we don't care. You're the metal god.
Yeah.
You know, so you are the metal god. You go ahead and do your thing, but yeah, we accept you as you are. So that's what got me like, okay, that's really interesting because that was the one where I'm like, Melissa Etheridge, Indigo Girls, Michael Stipe, even those were like, yeah, I'm sure that's going to be okay for them. But
Mm-hmm.
Rob Halford, I said that to him, but inside I'm like, oh, I hope this is the right decision. But it turned out to be absolutely the right decision for him.
And I think it's actually helped
Yes.
the in a lot of ways. I think it's
Yeah.
actually helped Judas Priest in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
and obviously
Nobody.
Rob's mental health as well. For one, that's
Yes.
the big one. You know,
Yeah.
You, Rob got a lot of publicity when he did come out, but someone like Doug Pinnick, who came out very quietly and didn't,
yeah.
I think he came out in an interview in a Christian magazine.
Oh my
No,
God, I remember that. Yeah, I grew up in the church, so I remember that. Like that, I feel like that was bigger news for the Christian church than
it
it
was.
was
The
for
general
heavy
rock community
metal.
didn't really know, and it wasn't a
Yeah,
big
they didn't
deal.
care.
No
They're
one
like, oh,
cared.
yeah. They're like, okay, cool. King's X
And
still like, yeah.
Chuck Panazzo from Styx,
Yes.
he came out
Yeah.
and even wrote a book about it. He was
Hmm.
living with HIV, so
Yeah.
he went right back into Styx and didn't hurt them. And
Business
so
as
what Chris
usual.
is saying is true. Pansy Division, in a lot of ways, we're kicking down doors. So this band wouldn't exist without Pansy Division for sure. I was a huge Pansy Division fan, and they helped me in the coming out process. It was nice hearing a band that actually sang about the things that I was experiencing and going through. Um, One of the reasons we changed the lyrics for some of the AC/DC songs is because we thought, what if these were the lyrics we heard growing up as little gay kids? Like, how fun would that be? And I think that's how
Yeah.
Chris started approaching it when we started out. And it was really fun. Now we go to shows and we go into a city we've never played before, and the fans are singing the lyrics that we sing. So
That's amazing.
that's pretty
That's
cool to
amazing.
see.
Have you guys heard from anybody in the AC/DC camp at all since you guys launched the band?
We
No.
did.
Well,
Well,
we didn't directly hear from AC/DC, but we heard because there are people, because LA, everybody works for everybody.
Oh yeah.
And there was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this story, Brian, but there was a guy who was the keyboard tech for Fleetwood Mac,
there was
and he
it.
knew somebody that was a tech for for AC/DC and played him a couple of our videos,
Right.
and for I think Dirty Deeds. And then that actually that guy showed it to the band, and they all thought it was hilarious.
Well, it was the front of house sound engineer
Oh,
came to the
that's who it was.
whiskey to see us.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. I remember that now.
they
Yes.
were in town for the Power Trip Festival in Indio. They were
Right.
playing with
Oh,
Judas Priest and Maiden.
yeah.
Um, and the front of house engineer came and saw us and videoed and sent it back
That's
to
right.
Brian and Angus.
That's
They were
right.
in town in LA at I think probably Mates doing rehearsals for the show.
Yeah.
So we kind and he told us that they would absolutely love it. He was nothing but really
That's
gracious.
awesome.
We were a little nervous going on stage for that one because we knew he was watching, but he came right up to
Yeah,
us after the show, hugged us. He's like, "Oh my God, you guys are great. Oh my God."
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Oh man, I don't know if I was in your shoes and I found out that like AC/DC had heard about it, part of me would be like, that's awesome, but part of me would be like, oh no, are we gonna have to like quit? Are they gonna like cease and desist? Like,
And
oh my God,
they
thank
really
God they loved
could.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. Because I mean, look, we really like the logo is exactly their logo. And we know how
Right.
tightly controlled they are on stuff.
Yes.
But I think the other thing is they must know because we project this that we take the money and put it right back in. We're not taking any
Hmm.
money. None of our videos are monetized. We
Wow.
make no money off their music. We
None.
only make money off of our appearances.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I because we've actually kind of thought, well, they could actually shut us down if they wanted to,
Hmm.
and they haven't.
But there's
So
so
I
many other AC/DC tribute bands that use the logo that
Yeah.
incorporate a couple different letters to change it. There's one called UK AC/DC with using the logo. So, I
Yeah.
think they probably see it as there are bands out there and basically we're selling their catalog. People aren't
We
going
are.
into Amoeba Records or going online at Amazon and buying GayC DC CDs or and are downloading. They're buying the catalog as they should.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now it's obviously a really important time, but this month is Pride Month. So,
yes,
and with Big Gay Boogie doing really, really well, everything going on in the world right now, I feel like this is the most important time for you guys to be a band and really honestly starting to get extremely popular, not just within the gay community, but just within the rock community. What is this time like for you guys to be in existence as a band during this time? Because you guys are really giving kind of like the younger metalheads that are gay and maybe closeted and not out yet an identity that nobody else is giving them right now.
It's a
right,
weird time. It's a weird time. We didn't plan for this video to be coming out at the beginning of June. We thought it was going to be coming out much earlier. Our time frame for it was much earlier. Things got pushed back, and so it just kind of happened that it was the beginning of June. Um, Chris and I kind
but
of
it
had
was
this,
Ray. It was Ray.
yeah.
Just to bring it up again, it
Okay.
was Ray. It was Ray who said, "Hang on, don't put it out yet.
Oh,
I think I have a better, Ray
the dude's
genius.
smart. The dude's
Yeah,
yeah, the dude
yeah,
He
knows what
is.
he's yes.
He had a
he sure
plan.
does.
He had a
He's been around
plan.
for a minute, so yeah.
Yes.
Our last video that we did, God, did it come out last year?
Yeah.
Highway to Hell, which
Hmm.
has John Bush from Armored Saint, Doug Pinnick. That one kind of
Crazy.
blew up when we released it, but we had no idea this one was gonna blow up. When Chris and I were first thinking about ideas for the next video, we had the tracks for this pretty much done. So we thought this makes the most sense. But Chris, and admittedly so, I kind of thought so too, thought it might be too long to do a video. This song might be too long. But then I came to it as, well, all our other videos are really fun. Let's do a video for ourselves and let's something, that has the most raunchy lyrics. Let's give people a real gay DC video like that they come to a show to
R-rated.
expect. And Chris and I agreed, and that's when we started the ball rolling. We knew that we wanted Frank Myers to direct it again. And I saw Frank at his birthday party, and he and I started talking about it. And the one idea I had was I said, Frank, I'd love for the band to do that spin thing where we turn from our civilian clothes, into the band, like Twisted Sisters, We're Not Gonna Take It video. He's like, oh my God, that's great. And we started talking more about that video,
To
and
just
we started incorporating
recreate
more
it.
scenes. And by the time I left, Frank was like, I think we're just going to do the whole We're Not Going to Take It video. I'm like, well, let me think on that. And Chris and I talked about it, and Chris loved it.
Yeah,
So
it's a
we said,
coming, and
let
we
Frank
turned it
run with
into a
it,
coming out story rather than like I want to
Yeah.
rock. It's like, well, here I'm coming out. I'm gay, and so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then Frank said, well, we can dovetail it so it actually becomes the prequel to the last video. So
which was great.
it just kept one upping, like, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But back to your point about where do we how are we feeling? I'm really super apprehensive about the tour because right now things are really getting it just feels like the
It's
somebody's
tense.
pulling those laces a little tighter,
Hmm.
like the corset's getting tighter, the shoelaces are getting tighter. So I don't know what to expect when we go out. I hope they don't shut us down somewhere along the way because I just don't trust them.
And we're going to a lot of
So
cities that we know we have a big fan base. Seattle, we always do great in Seattle.
yeah,
Boston, we do great. We're really looking forward to playing Philadelphia again. This one venue, the Broken Goblet, treats us so well. It's so
yeah,
amazing. So we know the people are there. We know people want to come out and see us. It's just, what's the other hand doing?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have a massive amount of friends in the LGBTQ community, and the amount of stuff that's being taken away right now is it's not just scary, but it's depressing and just infuriating because so much work has been done over the decades to get to where we are before now.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know I've said it a bunch of times, but you guys are a very important band to have right now because, and not even by design. You guys never envisioned to be an important
Mm-mm.
band,
Oh,
politically, but here we are. And the fact that you guys are doing what you're doing and so unashamedly, I think is going to do a lot. It's going to do a lot for a lot of people. And
I
I
hope
mean,
so.
I can understand the trepidation that you guys have, but I think that I think that this is the band that needs to be on tour right now.
Thank
This is the
you.
band that the rock and metal community. I mean, good God, Dee Snider, Doug Pinnick,
Yes.
Armored Saint, LA. I mean, come on, like
Heavy
you,
hitters. Heavy
man. I'm
hitters. We got a
having
lot of
having
heavy hitters in our
man.
corner.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
and
we didn't
yeah,
see the Dee Snider saying they're great tweet. We didn't That wasn't in our future. We did not see that one coming.
never,
No.
never,
Mm-mm.
and those are also guys that aren't going to put up with any bullshit from anybody too. They
Right.
will. I mean, Dee Snider went and fought the Supreme Court one
Yeah.
on one. Like these are guys that aren't going to take any shit if they see somebody that they love that they know is doing something right pushed around. They're going to go to war right there with you guys.
Right.
So
And
these are the right guys to have in your corner.
there was a moment when we actually thought of doing the song "We're Not Going to Take It." We
Mhm.
did another song called "Hold Your Head Up" a few years ago, which was not AC/DC, but there was this producer who said, "I have this idea. Would you mind letting me take the reins for a minute?" And we said, "Sure. Let's experiment. Let's see what we could do." And then after that song, we were thinking, well, that worked out okay. Maybe what if we did "We're Not Going to Take It"? So to have this video kind of take that place is really great. But here's something
Mhm.
that just came up yesterday. A good friend of mine, he has a trans son and teenage. And they found out that the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles just shut down yesterday all trans services. The doctor that's in charge of that whole wing was getting federal drones or something coming in, and she was getting death threats. So the whole wing just got shut down. So this is why I feel like, they could do anything at this point, like I don't need to be getting death threats. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but
No.
honestly, I if it happens, I'm going to step up. We are
Mhm,
going to step up because this is the fight. This is the
mhm.
fight for our rights. I know that there's something going through the Southern Baptist right now, like they're going to try and fight to get rid of gay marriage. That just came up last week. There's a lot of stuff where it's like, wow, roll everything back to the 50s.
Yep. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
this week the Southern Baptists in the National Assembly voted to take it to the Supreme Court to uh,
Eliminate it.
eliminate gay marriage.
I
Mhm.
think we're starting to really finally see when certain people thought America was great and it wasn't necessarily at a good time when it was, but that's when they think it was.
Yeah, right.
But on that front though, one thing I have wanted to ask you guys is being able to perform and put these videos out in the way that you have and perform the way that you do, and be so comfortable doing it, being able to really be yourselves. What does that do for your guys' mental health?
That's a
Well,
good question. We've never been
it,
asked
it
that.
Really?
every time we play, um, I get, it's a confidence builder.
Hmm.
I get more, because it's always, we never take it for granted that we're just going to walk out and be accepted. We always feel like there's going to be people we have to win over, and
Sure.
that's the most important thing is let's win
Hmm.
them over, and then it just feels great afterwards to have people come up. As soon as you see somebody that's like that at your show, that there's the challenge one right over here. There's the challenge. There's the gauntlet we got to cover or got to go through. And as soon as they start going and you can see them laugh, that's when you got them. It's the humor. Humor will
Yeah.
solve a lot of things. If you can get somebody to laugh, you got them in your pocket.
For me, it's a double-edged sword because Uh, admittedly, I'm probably the nervous Nelly of the band and probably think things through too much, as Chris can attest, but sometimes that works in my favor. But I'm always aware that our name is on the marquee and gay is in the name. So if there's someone that really is a homophobe and has violent tendencies, we're right on the marquee. I'm very aware of what happened to Dimebag on stage when they were playing, and I think it was Damage Plan.
Yeah.
Um, so that sticks with me because it's very easy in some of the venues we play that people can get up on stage. It's happened before, and every time it does,
Mhm.
and I have the front row seat for all of it. But on the other side of that, when we do the meet and greets after, when we meet people that tell us their stories, the woman that brought her 9-year-old trans daughter to the show at the
Oh
Hard Rock
God.
in Pittsburgh. Um, we hear these stories, and that's where we get the affirmation and the momentum to keep going because you never know who you're going to reach. And
Yeah.
for every one person, two people that we get to talk to after a show, there's 10 other people that we'll never meet, that will never hear their story, but have watched a video or came to a show that we changed somehow. They either decided to pick up an instrument, they decided to join reach out to a hotline for help. Maybe it's someone straight who has a gay friend and join the Gay Straight Alliance in their school. If those are still a thing, I don't know. God knows what's going on there. But positive steps. And we meet a lot of positive steps in the meet and greets after, but there's a lot of those steps that we will never hear of, that we'll never see, that we'll never get to meet. But we have the knowledge that those happen. And so when we, after a show, when we're driving to the next town, when we're talking about the show, we always talk about the people we talked about and that we could see that we made a difference. And for that, equaling out for me, the fear and the uncertainty of our name being on the marquee, that carries me over.
Yeah.
That's
So mental
awesome.
health wise, I think we all kind of pull from those experiences.
And in some way, we were all outcasts of bands that we were in the past, or situations where we couldn't be ourselves,
Hmm.
and in the music business, and we all wanted a seat at the table that's just ours. And so we just created our own table. I borrowed that from somebody. I just heard that recently from, I think it was a comedian, but I don't
It's
know who
yours
it was
now.
now. Huh? It's yours. It's
It's
mine
yours
now.
now.
But
It's yours
whoever it
now.
was, I know I stole it from somebody. I just heard it the other day, and I'm like, that's it. We created our own table. So now
Yeah.
I think that's important that people also see that you can do something if you just stick to it. Find a need and fill it.
It
You
also
know,
helped
Mhm.
that when we started, we were right on the cusp at the right time when sort of tribute bands with a niche were starting. Bands like Max Sabbath,
Yes.
Metalachi, bands that kind of were not a tribute, not a cover. Like there was that
Yeah.
weird gray area where we kept saying, well, we're not either one of those. And then we saw Max Sabbath. We actually did a show with them. And I was at their very first show at the Fault Line in LA. A
Wow.
gay bar was one of their very, very first shows.
Wow.
And we saw this whole sort of swell of these bands that just started doing something different. And we were right in that group, like the
yeah,
first wave of it. So that helped with some of the momentum. Now, Max Sabbath did very well. We knew that, we had the gay thing and we had further hills that we had to go uphill. We had bigger hills to climb than the other bands did because we had the gay thing. But that never deterred us. It kind of, frustrated us at times. Our guitarist Steve calls it the rainbow glass ceiling. Like, when are we going to break through the rainbow glass ceiling? We're still fighting that, but we have gone further than we ever thought possible. When we have fans all around the world that contact us and we do our merch and we sell merch and people from other countries are buying it and telling us, they want us to come to their country, we're doing something right. We're
yeah.
Yeah.
reaching people and we're doing something right. And 12
Hmm.
years in, is it, Chris? Are we 12 years?
12th year now. Yeah,
12th year.
it
12
will
years
be our
in,
12th year. Yeah,
we're doing something
Wow.
right.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
we genuinely love each other. We
Yeah.
hang out, we're friends. We started this because we all love being together.
yeah. That too.
That's
That
you
and
can't
the
yeah.
common theme that AC/DC runs in our veins, we've all huge fans. None of us had to learn this music. I saw AC/DC in 1981 for the first time and saw every single tour after that. So
Ooh.
it runs in our
Yeah,
DNA.
yeah,
Oh
It
man.
was kind of like, yeah, we can do this in our sleep. Once we started rehearsing the songs, we started learning the nuances and
the swing.
the real details of what AC/DC was, right? The swing. Um,
Yeah.
and that's hard to replicate.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Everyone thinks, oh, AC/DC is so easy to play. I'm like, well, here's my kit. Sit down, go
deceptive.
do it.
Yeah,
And
it's
that fan
not
base looks
easy.
at everything, man. They look at everything. Even the Angus kick. I mean, everything. You get one detail wrong and you're fucked.
Yeah.
Right.
You know. But going back to one thing you mentioned, like looking at it on stage from the stage at a gay CDC show, I can't imagine there's very many guys just like,
Well, at the
you know.
beginning,
And if there
usually at
are,
the
they don't know
beginning.
where they're at, probably. They didn't
Well,
realize what they were getting into, you know.
well, I mean, like, what was it? Was it Phoenix, Brian, where that guy brought his dad?
Yeah. So
And
we,
so his dad was a little bit, like, okay, show me.
right.
And then by
Right?
the end, he was like hugging us, and I got to get a photo
Man.
with you guys. It was like,
Oh,
that
that's
was like that.
amazing.
It feels so good. And like Brian mentioned, we got asked to play the whiskey. That was full of them. The first time we played the
Really?
whiskey, oh, like the bass player from Quiet Riot, he has this thing called Ultimate Jam Night, and he was one of the ones who invited us. But he was also, like, okay, let's see what you get. I mean, we walked into the whiskey with all of our boas and everything, and everyone's like, "What the hell just walked in?" And then we got up there on stage, and we just went whack,
And
smacked them over the face with it, and they flooded us at backstage after that because they were clearing the way for us to walk it onto the stage. And then when we got back upstairs, they were all just surrounding us like, "Oh my God, you guys, unbelievable!" And we were like, "Yay!"
And that was
you
purely
know.
that was purely Doug Pinnick. We're friends with Doug, and
Oh,
he'd come to see us
nice.
many times.
Nice.
And this particular Ultimate Jam Night was a benefit for the Pulse Orlando shooting. It
Right.
happened right
Mm.
after that. And Doug told them, "You've got to get GayC on the bill." And they never heard of us. And Doug said, "Trust me, you have to get them on the bill." So Doug really championed us, and we love
True.
him
Oh, wow.
forever. And we've
That's amazing.
immortalized him in the Highway to Hell video because we said, "Do you want to play Satan?" And he said, "Yes, yes, I'll show up right
Someone from the
now."
church, yes.
He was there at 9 in the morning.
In make
The
to get
crew
makeup.
call in full makeup. The crew call was like 8:30, and they told him, "Oh, 10:30, that's fine." No, he got there at 9 and was getting made up. We got there and like there's Doug sitting and he's already like Satan. So he jumped at it, but he really championed us and got us into the Ultimate Jam Night family.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
because he saw what we did and he believed in us. The first when I ran into him, probably the year before that at the whiskey at a benefit for MS, Rock Against MS. I went up to him and I had met him years before, and I was talking to him. I said, "Oh, and I happen to be the drummer of a all gay band, and we probably wouldn't exist unless it was people like you and Rob Halford and Chuck Panazzo, and our singer is the bass player of Pansy Division." And like we're all gay tribute to AC/DC. And out of his pocket, Doug pulls a GayC guitar pick that he carries around with him. And he had met our bass player at the Golden Gods Awards at LA
Oh,
Live. And Glenn
yeah.
had given him this pick, and Doug all kept it in his pocket. So he pulled it out and he goes, "This band?" So that was pretty funny.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That is amazing. Um, Last couple questions for you guys. If there's somebody who's on the fence about coming to see Gay CDC live or even checking out the music, what would you say to them?
Come. Just if you're an AC/DC fan, come,
You're gonna be
listen to the
satisfied.
music. Yeah, because we're all AC/DC fans. If there are any differences between the five band members and someone in the audience, if they're an AC/DC fan, we can find common ground. We can talk about shows that we went, tours that we went, favorite albums. And once you do that, Chris was mentioning that, a fan that brought his dad to the show in Phoenix, he actually messaged us on Facebook years and years ago, kind of as kind of a hate post. AC/DC was one of his favorite bands. He thought what we were doing was blasphemous, and it was very, very angry. And it would have been easy for me to just delete it. But
Hmm.
there was something in that day that I just responded and I said, "Oh, well, it sounds like you're an AC/DC fan. I am too. I saw them in 1981. Did you ever get to see them live? And when was the first time? What's your favorite album?" And immediately diffused the situation. He wrote back just a couple short word answers. But Robert and I started this conversation, and it turns out that he was angry because his sister was lesbian and had been, if I'm getting the story right, I might be paraphrasing, his sister was kicked out of their house by their stepdad. And he was really angry because him and his sister were best friends. And he was angry, not at her being a lesbian, but really angry at the stepdad, who was a homophobe. He
Oh,
ended up moving out of his house and moving in with his real dad in Phoenix. And he and I have maintained a friendship. And he came to see us 3 years ago in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it's an example of sometimes just having the conversation and finding common ground can be everything in this world, especially right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I would say to someone who's on the fence, come. if you don't like the show and the theatrics and the costume changes and the boas and the dildos, like we get that. But listen, but turn around, face the bar, but listen to the music because you'll hear the
Yeah.
love we have for this band in the music. Then let's talk after the show. Let's talk favorite albums. What tour did you see them on? What are your favorite songs? There's common ground. It's not a gay thing after that. It's a mutual love of one of the greatest bands in the history of this world.
And
We
this
can find common
band,
ground.
and it's interesting because in Pansy Division, I'm the bass player. And in this band, I'm the singer, which was unexpected for me. Even I didn't expect that I was going to be the singer for this band. It just worked out that way. But I understand what leads to lead singer disease because I'm separate from the band, if you know what I mean. I'm singing on top of the band. I'm not
Hmm.
involved in making the music. And I think part of what I miss from doing that versus Pansy Division is I love being in the music, like that magic stuff that happens between musicians that just after playing for a while, you can almost like sometimes you can finish each other's sentences. You can do that musically. You finish each other's musical phrasing and stuff. So the band just becomes this unit. And the band is a bulldozer on stage right now. So you're going, if you love AC/DC, yeah, just as Brian said, just come because the music will bowl you over and you'll be very satisfied. And you might have some fun. It's
Right.
it's hilarious.
Right.
It's hilarious. We try to make it really funny. It's got to be funny to be to give that wink that Bon Scott used to have.
We meet
Right.
so many people after the show who say, had no idea what to expect when we came here, didn't really want to come. My girlfriend dragged me, or, my friends told me I had to come check it out. I'm a diehard AC/DC fan. And it usually ends up with them saying, you're one of the best tribute bands we've ever seen.
Oh my God, what was it in Detroit? I think we had half of an AC/DC tribute band that came to see us in Detroit and with their wives because they were just like, well, let's just see what the competition, what have they
Right.
got going on. And they stood and talked to us. And they were there until they were like, okay, the brooms are out. You gotta leave.
Yeah, we were loading the bus, it was done, and we're
And
still
they
out
were
on the
still
sidewalk talking to
talking to
them.
us. And they
Oh
were like,
wow.
no, you guys have blown our minds because we had no idea that a tribute band of AC/DC could be that important, compelling for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens is people just go, wow.
And I would
It-
say, if again, going back to what you said, if someone was on the fence, I would add to that, leave your expectations at the door because we don't look like them. We're
yeah,
not going to move
Right.
like them.
right.
Uh, just come and see what it's about. And if you hate it, you hate it. As Paul Stanley said, or was it Gene? I forget which one. You either love Kiss or you hate Kiss, but there's no in between. We don't want to be in between. We want to be.
Yeah.
And I still don't think there's been anybody, like, I don't see anybody turning around and leaving and going, ah, you know,
Right.
nobody has. Nobody has.
Right.
In fact, it's the opposite. They get closer. Like as the show comes in, people are starting to get closer to the stage. So I have yet to have anybody come up and go, you know what, you guys suck. Sorry. None,
Yet to
nobody,
happen.
And again,
nobody.
if someone were to say that, it would be for me the common ground. Be like, okay, that's valid. That's your opinion.
Mhm.
Tell me what your favorite album is, and what was the tour like? I would just start that
Yeah.
conversation because
Yeah. Let's
sometimes
just.
it's
Yeah.
the preconception of what they think we're about, and sometimes people still carry that, and
And we've got a secret weapon in the
we
band.
do.
Our guitar player Steve is a freaking monster.
Yeah.
And so I mean that guy, I've never played with anybody as good as Steve. So when we found him and like would you be interested in doing this? I was like, oh my God, this guy is so incredible as a guitar player. And, he's one of those guys that was in a shredder band called Cry
Hmm.
Wolf back in the late 80s on the Sunset Strip. they got signed to a major label, but then and they got sent to Japan and then came back. And as soon as they went back to the label, they're like, "What happened to our posters?" And on the walls were now Nirvana posters. So he lost his
Oh,
career because that style of music just got swept away.
yeah.
But he is that caliber of guitar player.
He is
So
he is
he
well and above. And I saw
so
his band in Boston when I lived in Boston. I saw Cry Wolf when they came through town, and I was impressed with them then. Never mind actually being in a band with them. I actually thought our first rehearsal, because I knew of him, and when Chris said, "Oh, this guy Steve McKnight," I'm like, "Steve McKnight, wait, I know that name," and I'm like, "Oh, holy crap, that's Cry Wolf." He came into rehearsal and I just inside I was just really nervous. And at the end of rehearsal, I'm like, he's not going to come back. He's going to be so bored with this. He messaged us that day. He's like, when's the next rehearsal? And
That's
he tells
awesome.
us now, he's one of my best friends, as
yeah,
is Chris. Steve will say this is the best band he's ever played in, the most fun that
Wow.
he's ever had in a band. And
I
that
can
means a
believe
lot to
that
us
though.
because she's done
yeah,
some touring.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
so if somebody wants to see somebody just knock them out on guitar, he's going to do it. He doesn't just emulate. He takes it to the next level. Like
He
how
leaves
we
everything on the stage.
yeah,
That's awesome.
And that's
Finally,
that's one of the things that we have in common with Dee Snider is I used to follow Twisted Sister around on the East Coast, and Dee was the front man that showed me you just leave everything on stage. You don't allow the next band coming on after you to come on with any kind of confidence. You just
yeah,
yeah.
literally leave everything on stage, and they just grew and grew and grew to one of the best live acts I've ever seen
Yeah.
to this day. I mean,
yeah,
for a band to blow Maiden off the stage opening for them, it's really hard to do. And
And honestly,
Dee,
wearing the attire that they wore and everything back in the day, honestly,
exactly.
way ahead of their time, and is something for a band like you guys to look at for inspiration for the confidence on stage and the appearance
yeah,
as well.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then if Brian got that from Dee Snider, I got mine from Henry Rollins.
Ah,
Also, because I'm punk,
Yep.
I'm the one punk member of the band, and so for me, it's Henry Rollins who said, "Why are
yeah,
you getting on stage if you're not going to leave it all on stage? Give it
yep,
everything."
yep. Finally, guys,
Yes,
the fans are everything.
yeah,
The fans, in a lot of ways, are the lifeblood of
Yeah.
the band. What is this fan base like, and what do they mean to you guys?
everything.
Everything. We
There's
we
no
started
reason.
off
Yeah,
thinking for sure that we were going to be playing to a largely LGBT crowd. We'd be playing to like the gay rockers, the bears, the gay bikers, the rough and ready, the guys at
Hmm.
Eagle Bear Bust on Sundays. We thought for sure that like would be getting on the gay cruises. No,
Right.
we found out, I think it was probably the first show we did at the Viper Room where we started seeing sort of the straight crowd come in and we got reviewed in this metal publication after that show.
Mom was texting you.
I'll text you back in a
And
minute.
we got reviewed and this reviewer was like, "Oh my God, these guys are
No, here,
great." And
that.
we started seeing a really straight crowd come in. Sometimes it's kind of like bachelorette parties and wedding parties and drunk girls up at the front
Sure.
trying to grab Steve under. But for the most part, it's really the straight crowd that absolutely loves what we're doing with one of their favorite
Hmm.
bands. We do get the gay rockers in the cities, but it's and Chris, tell me it maybe I'm paraphrasing that too, but we didn't really think what the fan base would be aside from, oh, we'll do some shows and our gay friends will come.
that was it. That was it. We didn't know. But anybody, because we've now been a few times in some of these cities and see the same people coming back and going, "Oh, you
Hmm.
remember me?" I'm like, "Yep." That means everything. And then they brought people. Like that is everything to us. Because there's no, there isn't a band playing if there's nobody there to see them. It's like
Exactly.
does a tree fall if it doesn't make a sound if a tree falls in the woods, is there anything for a band to do if there's nobody there? So the fans mean everything to us. Absolutely everything. Yeah.
That's awesome, guys. Guys, thank you so much for doing this today. I
Thank
am a
you.
fan. I am a fan. My exact words were, "Oh my God, I'm fucking in. Let's fucking do this." Um, I love it. It is
Thank you
just
so
so
much.
much
Thank you,
fun.
Reggie.
That means a lot.
Yes.
So are you going to
And
come and
also,
see us?
are you coming to Indianapolis sometime?
Is Dayton close to Indianapolis?
It's close enough.
Okay, we're playing Dayton on what date is that Dayton
It's
show?
it's a September,
Yeah.
Oh, I've got time.
like the
I got time to
19th or the
work that
20th.
out.
Yeah.
I got
It's
time to work that out.
it's September.
Either 18th or
It's
19th,
a
I think.
it's a Sunday. It's a Sunday. It's
Okay.
the 19th, I think.
Dayton is on the 21st
Oh, 21st.
of September.
21st.
September
Oh
21st.
shit. So that's my wife's birthday.
Oh, not happening.
Oh.
Okay.
You'll sing happy birthday from the stage.
There we go. I will check
It's
the
my
tour
husband
dates.
piping in.
What's up? I will check tour dates. If you guys are within a 2-hour drive, I will be there because I mean, I've got a buddy who loves road trips, and if I say, "Hey, you want to go watch a AC/DC tribute band?" He'll be like, "Absolutely."
Well,
So,
hey, question. What would be a good venue in Indianapolis to play?
oh man, there's a few.
Okay.
Look into the Hi-Fi. It's HIFI.
Got it.
They bring a lot of like mid-level concerts. Fozzy was just there a couple years ago with Ugly
Might be a
Kid
little too big.
Joe.
Under 400 would be better. Under
Yeah,
400 club would be
For
better.
for a city that we've never played before, we want to
Yeah.
go in and
yeah. I would say honestly, the Hi-Fi would be good. Black Circle would be
Oh,
one.
okay.
They're basically a bar that puts on concerts. It's a good size. They bring in like a DRI a lot, bands like
Oh, yeah.
that.
Perfect.
Yep,
That's
you know,
good.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. So Black Circle, Hi-Fi, Hoosier Dome would be one probably to look into.
Okay. I love
It's
that
not a
name.
dome. It's not an arena. It's a very tiny place that is probably not safe to be holding heavy metal shows. So,
I just want
yes,
to play there for the show poster itself, that Gay
Yeah.
CDC at the Hoosier Dome.
yes,
I
I
love
saw
that.
Terror there. I saw Terror there, and it was not a safe concert to see at that place.
Wow.
So, yeah, so those would be three to look into in Indianapolis because
Thank you for that because I'm
in
the booking
Indy.
agent, so I'll try and get us
Oh,
in there. Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't know if you probably know Indy has a huge LGBT community here as well. So
Okay.
massive. So yeah, I think you guys would probably do really well here.
All right.
We'd
I'm going
love
to
to
look
play
into that
there.
right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, look into
Excellent.
it. So yeah. Guys, thank you so much and also thank you for doing what you do. For real. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Um I can't say it enough. You're a band that we need right now, so thank you for doing
Thank you
I
this.
for
And
that. That's a
I
great.
appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah,
I'll take that with me all day today, and
Me too.
it's
there we
especially right
go.
now here in LA at this time. It's those words are
Yeah.
appreciated, Reggie.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you guys. And hopefully we'll see you in Indy, Dayton, somewhere. I gotta
Yes.
check it
Let
out.
us know whatever show you want to come to. You just let us know.
Yeah,
I
you'll
will,
be on the
guys.
list.
Yeah, we'll hang
Awesome.
out.
Thanks, guys.